A stranger on my porch knew about my stillborn daughter. Then he told me what would be on the news tonight. The last normal day of my life started with pumpkin guts under my fingernails. I was on the porch, the air crisp, with that late October bite that promises winter is coming. The whole street smelled like wood smoke and dying leaves. I had a whole line of pumpkins, big orange bastards, waiting for the knife. My daughter Wren wanted a whole family of them this year. I was sketching a face on the third one when I felt it, that prickle on your neck. The feeling of being watched. Across the street, a man stood under the old oak tree. He was just standing there, still as a photograph. He wore a worn-out coat, the kind that looks like it's seen more rain than a gutter, and his face was a road map of deep lines. He wasn't looking at the house. He was looking at me. I'm not a timid guy, but something about his stillness was wrong. It felt predatory. I gave him the obligatory neighborhood nod. A quick, tight jerk of the chin. I see you. Move along. He didn't nod back. He just watched. I tried to ignore him. I plunged the knife into the pumpkin, the scrape and tear of the rind filling the quiet. I focused on the work, on the slimy, stringy mess I was pulling out. But the feeling didn't go away. When I looked up again, he was crossing the street. His walk was slow, measured. Each step deliberate, like he was conserving the last of his energy for some final, important task. He stopped at the edge of my lawn. "Can I help you?" I asked. My voice sounded louder than I intended. He gave a small, sad smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You always ask that." A chill that had nothing to do with the weather snaked up my spine. "Sorry, doesn't matter." He took another step onto the grass. "You miss a spot." He pointed a long, bony finger at the pumpkin I was carving. "Right there, under the eye. If you don't get all the pulp out, it rots from the inside out in 3 days." I went back to carving, my knuckles white on the handle of the knife. I started drawing, trying to project a bubble of normalcy around myself. He's just some local eccentric. But he didn't leave. He walked right up the porch steps, the old wood groaning under his weight. "Mind if I help?" he asked. His voice was gravelly, tired. I should have said no. I should have told him to get the hell off my property. But I had 10 more of these things to get through before Wren got home from school. And honestly, a part of me was morbidly curious. "Knock yourself out," I said, nudging a fat pumpkin toward him with my foot. He was incredible with the knife. No drawing, no hesitation. The blade moved like it was part of his hand, peeling away rind in long, elegant strips. In minutes, he'd carved a scene of a forest, each tree impossibly detailed, with a single, terrified wolf howling at a fractured moon. It was a masterpiece. "Damn," I said, genuinely impressed. "That's amazing." He set it down gently, then sighed. The sound was so full of weariness it felt ancient. "You're a good man, Reese." I froze. The knife in my hand suddenly felt very heavy. I'd never seen this person in my life. Not in town, not at the store, not anywhere. "How do you know my name?" "I know Gus is about to start barking because the mailman is 2 blocks away." "I know your wife Thea is going to call in about 10 minutes to tell you she's pregnant. It's a boy." He said it all flatly, like he was reading a grocery list. "And on the news tonight, they'll talk about the sky falling." I laughed. A short, sharp, nervous bark. He had to be a friend of Thea's, playing a stupid prank. "That's a good one, man. You got me. Who put you up to this?" He didn't laugh back. He just looked at me with those tired, hollow eyes, and all the humor drained out of the afternoon. God damn it. He rubbed his temples, a gesture of pure exhaustion. "I always get it wrong. I come in too strong. I'm sorry. Just, can we talk? You still keep that cheap instant coffee in the canister by the sink?" My blood ran cold. He wasn't a dangerous person, I thought. He was just broken. I told him to wait, went inside, and my wife's words echoed in my head. "Don't talk to strangers, Reese." I made 2 mugs of the shitty instant coffee, my hands shaking so badly I slopped some on the counter. I handed him a mug. The steam ghosted between us in the cold air. "Okay," I said, taking a sip of the scalding liquid. "I'm listening." I've had this conversation before, he began, staring into his cup. With you. Not this you, but you. I keep thinking if I just find the right words, in the right order, I can fix it. But time is stickier than you think. He looked up at me. It started the first time I died. I said nothing. What the hell do you say to that? I know how it sounds. But just hear me out. I died in a nursing home. Old, 99. I remember the ceiling tiles, the smell of bleach, a nurse screaming. I was ready. I'd lived a full, shitty life. Then, light, pain. And I was small, helpless, staring up at my mother's face, the year of my birth. But I remembered everything. Every war, every stock market crash, every stupid pop song. You were reborn with all the baggage. I had a whole lifetime of knowledge, so I tried to change things. Small things at first. He took a shaky breath. My best friend in my first life, a kid named Leo, died in a drunk driving accident when we were 17. I stopped him. I took his keys. We got into a huge fight, but he lived. The man's eyes were glistening now. Would you believe me if I told you that the world we're living in right now, this mess, is the best it gets? I thought about everything. The wars on TV, the political bullshit, the feeling that everything is always one step away from falling apart. No, I said. I can't believe that. He leaned forward, his rough hand closing over my wrist. His grip was surprisingly strong. Leo lived. And a few years later, he put a bomb in a federal building. Killed hundreds. All because he was supposed to die in that car. Every time I pull a thread, the whole fucking tapestry unravels into something worse. It's a delicate, horrible balance. You save a city, a country gets wiped off the map. You prevent a famine, a plague takes its place. It's all connected. I pulled my hand back. My mind was racing, trying to find a rational explanation. He was a lunatic, a very convincing, well-researched lunatic. I decided to test him. I reached into my pocket, my fingers closing around the loose change there. Before I could even form the question, he spoke. You're going to ask me what's in your hand. 2 quarters, a dime, and a nickel. 60 cents. Last time it was just a lint-covered piece of hard candy. I opened my hand. 60 cents. My jaw went slack. He pressed on, his voice dropping to a whisper. You want a detail only you would know. Before Ren, there was another. You two had a name picked out, Finn. You buried a small wooden box under the willow tree in the backyard. The world tilted. My breath hitched in my chest. We had never, ever told a single soul about that. Not family, not friends. It was our secret, our scar. What the fuck are you? I stammered. I don't know anymore, he said, his voice cracking. A warning, I guess. A warning, I guess. All I can do is try to prepare people. For what? The end of the beginning. He stood up, his coffee untouched. He picked up the pumpkin I'd been working on and the knife I'd set down. May I? I just nodded, speechless. He began to carve, his movements precise and grim. Tonight, he said, not looking at me, it's not a bomb. It's quieter. A chain reaction. A piece of space junk hits a satellite. Then that debris hits 2 more. Then those hit a dozen more. A cascade. The sky will be ripped to shreds. Communications, GPS, the internet, all of it gone in a blink. They'll call it a technical failure. An accident, but it's the first shot in the last war, a blinding shot. And then, my voice was a croak. Then the missiles fly. People will do what they always do. They'll kill each other over lines on a map until there's no one left to give the orders. After that, we get a few years of peace. A terrible, quiet peace. What about us? Here, we're lucky. We mostly starve, but we survive the war. He paused his carving, the knife held still. But we broke the planet getting there. Enjoy the blue sky, Reese. Because after the war, it turns yellow, then gray. It gets hard to breathe. The air gets thin. He dropped the half-carved pumpkin onto the porch with a dull thud. He clasped his hands together, his knuckles white. By the time I was an old man, the atmosphere was just peeling away. I remember looking up and seeing the stars. In the middle of the day. The last thing I remember is the screaming. Then nothing. And then I'm back in a hospital, smelling my mother's skin. He turned to face me. The pumpkin he'd been carving now had a new design. It wasn't a face. It was a sky full of falling, jagged streaks of light. A web of destruction. Why are you telling me this? Because Thea is pregnant, and your son deserves to know what a blue sky looks like. He took a step back, off the porch. It's not here yet, but it's coming. Be ready. And he just turned and walked away. He didn't disappear. He just walked down the street and rounded the corner, another shadow swallowed by the coming dusk. I stood there for a long time, the cold seeping into my bones, staring at the horrible pumpkin. I eventually went inside, my mind a static-filled mess. Thea was home. She kissed me, told me her day was fine, and then she took my hands in hers, her eyes shining. "Reese," she said, her voice trembling with joy, "I'm pregnant." I hugged her, a wave of love and absolute, gut-wrenching terror washing over me at the same time. I held her tight, the man's words echoing in my ears. As I write this, the TV in the living room has gone black. My phone has no service. Thea is on the landline, but it's just a dead tone. Outside, in the pitch black of a world suddenly cut off, the first siren is starting to wail. God help us. He was right.